What if two distinct visions for society, each promising prosperity and justice, clashed on a global stage, shaping decades of history without direct warfare? During the Cold War, capitalism and communism presented fundamentally different models for economic and political organization, diverging primarily on ownership of production, resource allocation, and individual freedoms. Capitalism emphasized private ownership and market forces, while communism advocated for state control and collective ownership, aiming for a classless society. The core difference lay in who controlled the means of production and how economic decisions were made. Under capitalism, individuals and private businesses owned factories, farms, and services, with supply and demand dictating prices and production. This system was underpinned by concepts of private property rights and competition, believing that individual self-interest would ultimately drive innovation and create wealth for society as a whole. Conversely, communism, inspired by Marxist-Leninist thought, posited that the state or the community should own and control the means of production centrally. The goal was to eliminate economic inequality and exploitation, ensuring that resources were distributed according to need rather than profit, typically through 5-year plans dictating economic activity. To understand this contrast, consider the practical implications. In capitalist economies, individuals had the freedom to choose their professions, start businesses, and accumulate wealth, albeit with varying degrees of social safety nets depending on the country. Consumers also enjoyed a wide array of choices in goods and services, often at competitive prices. In communist systems, the state typically assigned jobs, dictated wages, and controlled the availability and price of goods. While aiming for full employment and basic provisions for all citizens, this often led to shortages of consumer goods, limited innovation, and a lack of individual economic autonomy. A fascinating insight into this ideological battle is the concept of the Iron Curtain, a term popularized by Winston Churchill, which visually represented the ideological and physical divide between capitalist Western Europe and communist Eastern Europe. This division was not just about economic theory but extended into political systems, individual rights, and even cultural expression. Western nations generally embraced multi-party democracies and freedoms of speech and assembly, whereas Eastern Bloc countries typically featured one-party rule and restricted civil liberties in the name of collective good and state security. Ultimately, recognizing these stark differences helps us grasp the profound global implications of the Cold War. It was a contest not only of military might but also of competing ideas about human nature, societal organization, and the path to progress, with each system attempting to demonstrate its superiority through economic output, technological advancement, and the welfare of its citizens. Understanding these foundations is key to deciphering the geopolitical landscape of the mid to late 20th century and its lingering effects today.